All right, welcome all to this February 26th meeting of the Berkeley Unified School District Personnel Commission. We will start with roll call.
Chairperson Alpert,
Present?
Vice Chairperson Roeder,
Here.
and Commissioner Goldstein mentioned she will be running late today.
Yes, but on her way. We will move to public comment. Do we have, if any member of the public on Zoom would like to give comment at this time, you may raise your hand digitally, please. Seeing no hands, we will continue. We'll turn to approval and adoption of the agenda. Are there any modifications that need to be made to the agenda?
Chairperson Goldstein requested that we pull consent items 7B 1 through 4 for and move them to conference items.
My best efforts to expedite our meetings has been trounced. We will move those items to.
But is that seven, on the agenda I'm looking at, it says 7C is the approval. Did you see?
You're right, there's a problem.
On the
Yeah, there's nothing under A.
When the agenda got updated, it added a bullet.
Oh,
well, it's fine online, so the one I'm looking at online, and it's B. But
Well, it's the approval of the step advance
Yes.
request.
yeah.
so
For
yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, and 4. We can move to action, and we'll take those up as the last, or let's take those up as the first action item, since those folks may be in the room.
Well, I think,
Oh, she's not here. Let's
Yeah.
take them up
whenever
when she gets here. Yeah,
Goldstein gets here.
sounds good.
But
In that,
I would like to pull one other item, please.
absolutely.
The numbers are gonna get confusing, or rather the letters,
Mhm.
because what mine shows is ratification of eligibility list is 7B,
Should be A.
but perhaps you have it as A.
I have it as a, but regardless,
So
it's under that
it's
list.
that,
Yes.
and then it's sub item 2.
Executive
Executive
assistant.
assistant extension.
All right, we'll take that up.
Anytime you want, Mr. Chairman.
Sounds good. Have very good actually. Are there any other changes need to be made to the agenda? If not, then I will move since it's only two of us.
Second, yes, I agree.
All right, so we'll adopt the agenda as amended. We can turn to approval of the meeting minutes for the January 28th meeting. I'll take a second to look at them.
I did have one
Mhm.
change, or one addition.
Go right ahead.
So hopefully this numbering is consistent. Under 8B, which is discussion of step advance rubric, everything that's written in these two paragraphs is totally fine. But I think we also discussed the fact that we were no longer going to require that applicants set forth the step to which they would like to go.
Let's go ahead.
And I don't think that's mentioned
I
here.
think that is, I agree that that's important. Because that has been done. So all new forms will not include that place. So the existing ones we had did that were before that change, but going forward, that's been changed.
Correct.
Yeah, so we can add that into our direction. I concur.
Okay, so if a motion is appropriate, then with that addition, I move approval of those minutes.
I second and agree. All right, so we'll turn to reports. We will start with our report from the union. Are there any representatives of the USD unions who would like to give a report? Heidi's gotta get through and maybe we're done. Are there any representatives of the district who wish to make a report? I'll turn to my fellow commissioner.
Okay, thank you. Well, I just had, I guess, two comments, but they're related. Well, actually, for this purpose, I would say one comment, and that is that, as you know, our executive director, Aaron Aaron, 'Aaron' 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 and talk about hobgoblin of small minds, I would like to call it a committee and not a subcommittee when it appears, because it isn't a subcommittee.
Joint committee.
It's just a committee, or a task force or something, but it's not a subcommittee because it's not subordinate to any other committee that's in existence. So anyhow, that's a peccadillo about that. But otherwise, we had a very productive, I think, meeting last month, and well, I guess this month, and we're gonna have another meeting in early March, and we're getting a lot of participation by HR and by special education and by this commission and by the union. I think it's really great, and some really, I think, very productive ideas are gonna be forthcoming and have already been provided. So I look forward to our next meeting, which I think is March 4th.
Great, I look forward to hearing all about it.
Great.
And we have full faith in you as our representative on the not so sub commission
That's
or committee, excuse me. I don't think I have any reports other than what's on the agenda. So I will turn to our director.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all here. I'll begin with, as usual, the brief overview of our personnel activity for the month of January, which can be found on page 9. We started off the year very busy. Since our last meeting, we have established 8 new eligibility lists to fill those ongoing vacancies and our limited term assignments. And then the commission administered in the month of January 262 exams, averaging nearly 14 exams per day. And then also with the support always from our HR colleagues, 23 new hires were processed, 3 promotions and 1 new assignment. So I want to highlight that this is actually the highest volume that we've seen for like January hiring. I have data from the last 13 years where I've been keeping track of that. So this is the most activity we've seen for January. So we're hopeful that this momentum continues. And then Izzy spoke to it a bit already regarding our IA-SPED staffing and recruitment committee. So we had a very productive meeting. Our members reflected on the ongoing challenges and the barriers related to the IA-SPED staffing, and a survey was sent out to gather feedback prior to that meeting, and so we used the responses to identify the themes and then prioritize.
From incumbents, ISPEDs.
No, that survey was sent to just make
Committee members.
Yeah, so at our upcoming meeting, we're gonna work with, or I'm working with the SPED team to map the full process from the moment that a student's need is identified to when an IA is assigned or a contractor is called, and then determine how we can better identify when an assignment should be converted from a temporary to permanent position. And then how that process can maybe be streamlined, so then the PC and the HR departments can recruit and staff effectively for those positions. So we also always update and review the IA staffing report. So we did work on a summary that Sarah will hand out to you for, it was basically updated through today. And so we'll be including it in our agenda packet. So you can see basically since our last meeting, so our last PC meeting, we've had 6 new hires in the IA2 class. We failed to get data regarding the current IA's onboarding. We weren't able to get that data today, but we'll hopefully provide it and then we can include it in this report. And then we had 2 IA separations as well. So we also, you can see on that summary, identified 44 contractors that are currently in use. But an important thing to note is that we now have 56 vacancies reflected That's up from the 11 that we had last month. So that increase is actually due to the new positions that were approved by the board in January. And, but it gives us a clear picture as to the true vacancies that
Mhm.
are needed in the district and, the positions that need to be filled that were being, filled by contractors. So we definitely, as a PC, have our work cut out for us. So, the team will continue to focus, heavily on filling these vacancies and strengthening our recruitment efforts. We have already lined up 2 external hiring fairs that we're going to be attending, and then potentially securing a 3rd recruitment and hiring event, like the one we've held in the past, during this school year. So if we maintain that hiring momentum, we hopefully will attain our goal to fill most of these vacancies. And so anyway, on a different or sad note, we did receive preliminary layoff information. And so a resolution is actually scheduled to be brought to the March 4th board agenda. So I can't provide yet a final FTE or position count at this time because the updates are like ongoing every day, but the agenda will be posted probably this weekend. So but as we saw last year, we're all hoping that many of these layoffs will be rescinded. And I want to acknowledge the collaboration between PC, HR, and also our union in working to replace these contractors with permanent employees. Because as we see, it brings significant cost savings to the district. So we maintain committed to supporting our classified employees during this process, and we'll continue to monitor all the developments that come about. And so that pretty much my report.
I have 2 questions, some few questions. For the numbers on the sheet here, which we will, I don't know, can we, do you have them? Can we share the screen so that people can see them? Is that possible? So obviously thrilled that we're once again right sizing the positions and vacancies to the contractors. One is an order of magnitude lower than 35. But I do have a question about that one. So obviously there are more now vacancies than there are existing contractors, but it appears there's still one unaccounted for position. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that's a new one that popped up.
Okay.
So I still don't know, but we know sometimes a need will come up.
Sure.
Just, and then, and so we don't yet have information about that specific assignment and why it's there, if it's just temporary or if it's gonna be turning into a position, but
Okay. Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, because I think, the goal is not necessarily that we never have any contractors in
Yeah,
the district
that's-
ever, right? As temporary positions come and go, that is, but that number should be around less than 10, not over 100, right? So, anyway, that was my first question. My second question was around layoffs. I know you can't give us an exact number. Can you give us an order of magnitude, or is there any?
So from what I saw. I know it's like, I was looking at something that showed the FTE, which isn't very telling, but like the number of positions, but like.
If you can't tell us, or if it's too preliminary, then,
It's too preliminary.
all right, then we'll find out soon.
Yeah.
Commissioner Wilbur.
Yeah, thank you. So first, before we get to these numbers on this sheet, I just wanted to compliment the PC and HR for this tremendous list of new hires. And one new assignment, and I believe 1 promotion, if I saw it correctly. 2 promotions. I actually had counted 24 positions that were either IA speds or were before and after school program, but I may be off by 1 or 2, so that's an important thing. But it's fantastic, these new hires. So that and I just wish that the stakeholders, I know the union is well aware of this, and HR is well aware of this, and obviously we are well aware of this, but that's sort of as far as it goes. I wish that, whether it's school board members or other members in the district, or even the public, could understand the tremendous effort that goes into hiring even one of these new hires, number one, and number two, that it doesn't say this on the sheet, but I'm quite sure that a number of these new hires were previously contractors. And they were probably previously contractors in the district.
Mhm.
And just from a special educational standpoint, the continuity of these positions as BUSD employees rather than contractors is a tremendous service to the special education community and the parents of the special education kids and the kids themselves. And I just wish that were appreciated a little bit more widely. So I know I'm preaching to the chorus here, to the choir, and but that's my 2 cents on that.
I would love it if maybe you and the executive director could get time to present to the board. I don't know if we could ask them, to put it on the agenda, we can talk about the progress we've made on ISPED recruitment.
I think there was discussion, if I'm not mistaken, that a presentation would occur.
After our committee, I think we discussed maybe producing something, once we finalize the, committee meetings and then kind of like similar to like our annual report.
Well, that's gonna be a
Right.
I was gonna say, don't wait to spread the good news.
Yeah, that's gonna be a while. I thought that Samantha
Yeah,
had indicated that she was planning
Yes.
on making a presentation to the board. And she asked you, would you be willing
Yeah.
to
she
participate?
hasn't done that yet,
Right.
but she got a little sidetracked with all.
Of course.
But we probably will.
Well, I certainly
That'd be a good
encourage you
idea.
strongly to do that,
Yeah.
but I don't think you need much encouragement.
So given all of these new hires, many of them from contractor positions, I think. So when we're looking, so the contractor tracking in use, first off, does that in use include the contractors who are were hired in positions that were unaccounted for?
Yeah.
That number.
That's all both. in
Actual vacancy.
Yeah.
Okay.
All, the head count, all of the. Yeah.
All of the contract.
Okay.
So, and I don't expect you to have an answer to this right now, but just intuitively. It sort of seems like if in October there were 58 contractors in use. And today there's 44, that's an elimination of 14 contractors. I mean, that's good and that's great. But it seems like with all these new hires and everybody, that it sort of feels like there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
It seems like that number is too small. It's,
Well, the only thing that I can say that would, to point to that was what Samantha had mentioned at our last meeting about how it's a moving target, how there are these, contractors that need to come in at a last moment because a need has changed, an IEP has changed, and that's all that I can.
Also, we noticed when we're working on this tracker that there'll be a contractor working at one site. And then when we lose somebody, or when someone goes on a leave, they move the contractor to the other site. And so the contractors themselves are getting moved around in different sites, but. Yeah, that is a big mystery why, given the amount of new hires, why that contractor number hasn't totally dropped. A lot more, I mean, I guess I can say recently because we added all of the new vacancies.
but those vacancies, those people who were in what were previously unaccounted for, which are now new vacancies, those people were in the in-use row.
There were, yeah. Yeah,
Well, if you can put on your thinking caps a little bit
try to think of,
on that and understand them, because even the moving target aspect, that could explain in any given month, it seems to be, maybe 2, 3, 4 contractors, but it doesn't seem like it would explain 25 or so. I mean, if we hired 24 people, seems like a few of them. And we've had people, just people for the, step advances have come in and have said, well, I used to be a contractor. I used to be a contractor.
Right.
You're absolutely right. There have been a lot of contractors, but there have been still more that weren't contractors. I think, more new hires who were not contractors.
So these are like new positions that never had a contract.
Just saying that those contractors might not be converting.
Right, I'm sure there are contracts. Anyway, I don't want to belabor it, but yeah.
Yeah, we can try to, I have a meeting with a special ed, program too tomorrow, and I can specifically ask her.
That'd be
what
great.
That's our.
That'd be good. Thank you.
I would say hello, everybody,
Hi.
first, and apologies for being 15 minutes late. And I'm delighted by looking at these stats, because what is really knocking my socks off is the unaccounted positions, change from 35 to 1, and maybe someone already commented on that. But that is the single most important thing that I see in this document, and that's great. And that's because the Personnel Commission did it. HR wasn't gonna do it. We did it, right? We kept asking. We kept demanding the accountability for that, and now we're seeing unaccounted positions, really being owned up and accounted for. I have, similar concerns. It's a little hard to make the numbers match. I recognize it's a moving target. We will always have some number of contractors, but I think probably what will help us most is taking a point in time, like maybe 10/29, where we looked and saw what things were. And then maybe taking the end of March, just, sometime that makes sense. And looking at the deltas. I think that is what is really gonna help us understand what the progress has been. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for your report and for answering all our questions. I'll turn back to you since you were here. Did you want to make a commissioner's report?
No,
All right.
I'll leave it be for now. Thank you.
All righty. In that case, let me get back to the top of my agenda. I will turn back just to see if anyone from the union or the district has joined us for their reports. If you'd like to raise your hand or come off mute. Not hearing or seeing anyone, so in that case, we will turn to our consent calendar. Consent calendar has item 2, executive assistant, on the first list, and all 4 of the items on the second list have been moved to action conference. Are there any additional questions or comments on any of the remaining consent items?
I'll only say that the intervals are super strong. It looks like an average is 8 days between, first exam and next exam, whether it's just, reviewing credentials and written, or written and performance, or, any of those. So, a lot of volume, move very quickly. So kudos to the team.
Sounds like it could be a motion.
I will motion for items A sub I through IX9 without number 2 for approval.
Sounds good.
And I'll agree with that, but I also want to make another comment, which is a complimentary comment as well. Looking at the nutrition services assistant eligibility list, again, that's such a difficult position to fill. And I think part of it, the reason we're able to fill it more is, I think, that the FTE has been increased for that position, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Making it a more attractive position. So I think, similar to Heidi's point is, these things come to the Personnel Commission. The union talks about it. We see that we get a eligibility list with like 1 person on it.
Can you share, so the nutrition services assistant, what is that job description? Is that cafeteria workers or?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
And we talk about it, and we, I guess for want of a better term, complain about it. And then at some point, people listen. And whether it's Samantha Tobias Espinoza or others in HR or other people at Nutrition Services or whomever, listen to the union, listen to us, and then actually take action. And that's how change occurs. And I think we should, I'm not saying thank ourselves, but we should keep that in mind when we see things that are a little off base. It's fine to talk about them, and maybe we're right, maybe we're wrong, that's not the important part. But if changes can be made that are beneficial, we'll continue pushing for them.
I totally concur. It's exactly why we talk about the process, and it's why, I don't know, how long have I been in this commission? 10 years? I'm gonna call out and ask about every recruitment that had fewer than 3 ranks or that took longer than 14 days. Because our job is to make qualified candidates available ASAP, and the commission has delivered on that tremendously. Qualified candidates, not just any candidates.
All right, well, there's a motion and second.
Oh, yes.
And I agree, so we will adopt the balance of the consent calendar. Which will then take us to our conference items, and we'll start with let's start with the executive assistant, let's just go in order.
Okay.
So, do you wanna speak to this first?
Yeah, so this item, we're bringing it forward to, extend the eligibility list for an additional year. We received a request from the candidate, which should be included here in the packet. And so approving the extension, is consistent with one of our merit rules, and so, we've done so in the past, and I'm recommending it, we do not have any current vacancies or any vacancies that are going to be filled in that classification, but we do have some, candidates on the list that are on limited term assignments, so that is why I'm recommending the extension.
So a question here is, of all the candidates, this was in October, or I guess December, right? By the time we finished it, December 2024 recruitment. So, it's a year and a quarter old at this point. So we know that there's at least one person on this list who is currently interested. Do we know what the follow-up has been on this list for everybody else? And this is tied to the question of if a new recruitment came up, or a new need came up, new vacancy came up, would you simply pull from the old list, or would you run another recruitment and just carry forward from this list?
Well, if we extend it and I have this list, I would just rely on this list. I do know though that when there's been some time that's passed from the last time we recruited and that we established the list, we do contact all of the candidates to check if they're still available.
Mhm.
We do know 2 here that are on, the VOC assignments, and so, but we would likely use this list to fill any upcoming vacancies, if we get a vacancy in this classification.
So you think we've got 2, live, if you will,
Yes,
live
I know that
candidates?
for sure, yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, ordinarily, we would want 3. 2 is better than 1.
But if we only had 2, then we would probably run a new recruitment to get 3.
So if you checked in with all the others and couldn't get a 3rd, you would run a new recruitment
Yes.
before offering.
Yeah, that's probably what the hiring supervisor and manager would expect also. When, and especially in a position like this, they want their 3 ranks,
Got it.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I asked that this be pulled, and as a general proposition, it's sort of my feeling, first off, that extending an eligibility list is the exception to the rule. I mean, our eligibility lists last for a year, and there's a good reason that they last for a year. Aaron is absolutely right. Our merit rules and also the ed code permits extending it for, ours says a year, an additional year. The ed code actually says an additional 2 years. Under specific circumstances, but we have discretion as to whether to do that. And I think all the questions that Heidi asked were also my questions, and I appreciate the answers, because lists get stale. That's just the truth of the matter. So on the one hand, you have people who they're on the list, or maybe one person who's on the list. As I read this, she's now available to do sub work. This is the list from which subs are pulled, and so presumably she would be placed in a sub position. Now, whether that means, do you know, is she and the other person on the sub list, are they desirous of permanent positions?
Oh, yeah.
They are, okay. So it may be that it's perfectly appropriate to extend this, but I do think in general, we should have this for discussion so that we can find out what the circumstances are in any particular situation. And if Aaron had said that, yes, we know one or two or more positions that are about to become vacant, for which we're going to be doing a recruitment, then probably extending the list is not a good idea. And we should just get on it and extend and do the recruitment. But I'm hearing that's not the recommendation. So,
Right,
So
and
I don't-
one thing that I consider as well is the fact that, so I take into account if there are candidates here that are subbing and they're in limited term assignments, because, you know, by removing them from the list and running a new recruitment, that means then that they're no longer viable, they don't get back on the list.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
So we do a recruitment process, identify candidates as qualified, they become limited, they become eligible to be limited term subs.
Right.
If they're actively in a limited term sub role, it seems silly to say, oh, you tested more than a year ago, but you've been doing the work, and I mean, you know, if you're a sub, you can be removed more easily than a permanent employee, and so clearly there hasn't been, you know, displeasure with the performance.
Yeah, so what sometimes happens is that the sub won't reapply when if we run a new recruitment, they won't reapply. And so then when we generate a new list,
They get
we're not on there. And
Do
so-
they not reapply because they don't want to, because they don't know about it, or because they forget, or like, do we know why?
Well, different reasons, sometimes they don't know, yeah, they might not know. Or they don't think that they need to, you know, we
Yeah.
try to give them that information when we send them the notices, like this is for limited term assignments. But, you know, after a year,
Right,
they're not. And it's kind of a hard tracking piece to let all the subs know, by the way, this is, you know, as they're coming close to the expiration date.
yeah, no, I'm just thinking about, this is all off the top of my head, so more educated folks can correct me, but it would, I would feel like we could add something to the rules about if you are in a limited term assignment and you're on a list about an automatic renewal of your specific eligibility, because you're performing the work in the district.
That would make my job easier, but yeah, we have that would.
What's the
that we
proposal?
have to-
Oh, just, I mean, could we do something to the effect of, if you are, were on a list and have been performing work on the list, someone's unmuted, performing work on the list as a limited term sub, that if the list is set to expire, your specific eligibility continues if you're performing work with the district.
How does that make your work easier? I mean, I'm open to
Well,
it,
because
but it
that's
seems like more
that's
tracking.
One less person that we need to test
Yeah.
and go through the whole process.
Yeah, 'cause if you
And if they're,
test it and then you're still doing the work, you keep your old scores.
but I think that's why we're given, people are given this opportunity, and these requests don't always just come from the candidates. These requests also can come from the hiring manager. Or even, like, I might bring one forward.
Right.
So they come from, you know, and it's for the specific reason.
And I guess the reason I bring it up also is because it's for the whole list. And so, you know, if we have a situation where we have a list and it's mostly stale, but one person is performing work as a limited term sub, we want to keep that person eligible to continue doing that work, but maybe you want to get rid of the rest of the list because the rest of those people are not either not interested or.
So I'm trying to think how this triangulates with the rules.
Right.
So the ed code rules say a 2-year extension.
Right.
So part of what you're assuming is somebody would not be subbing for 2 years.
Right.
right? And I think by and large, I mean, in the past,
We want people to
we
leave.
have had that problem.
Right.
I think now we are doing better in terms of really defining end dates, either tied to leaves of absence or, you know, the limits that are supposed to be
Right,
in
that's good.
place.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rare scenario. It
Mhm.
would be a rare
Long-term.
scenario unless, you know, someone's covering for someone on a maternity leave and then or that medical leave and it turns into.
Right,
And so, you know, that would, but again, I think that's why the request has been something we consider. We can also, there's always the option to like extend the list, but then also if there is a vacancy, we can say, well, we'll still recruit, but we'll recruit and then we'll merge the list. We can do that as well. That could always be another option. I think.
you know, that almost seems easier. I'm sorry,
That's
can I
okay.
can I finish the
Yeah,
thought?
and then-
Go ahead.
I know you wanted to speak. Where I see there being points of confusion is someone who is in the role, who is tested for the role and is subbing.
Yeah.
Versus someone who is in the role and thinks they tested for the role and didn't.
Mm,
You know, I'm worried that we're still going to have those disconnects. You know, I feel like the most affirmative way to do this is if we know we're recruiting and we know there's a sub in the role currently, irrespective of whether, you know, they are on the list or they've applied or they haven't applied. You know, we send everyone in that position and say, we're recruiting for this position. If you're a sub, you need to reapply, just a blanket notice. Is that honors?
It might be, because we don't have like a very, accurate sub tracker, not all of these, a lot of these limited term offense are not in our sub system.
Mm.
You know,
Mhm.
like maybe an IA would be at a school site, but like, for example, an executive assistant wouldn't be in the sub system.
Right, in ESOP is what you're.
Frontline, it's called that,
Frontline,
but yeah,
okay,
for
right.
case
Mhm.
wouldn't be in.
ESOP
sub
Staples.
system.
That's what it used to be. Oh, yeah.
So these are different options. I think that's why. I think, yeah, like, I agree that we consider these as discussion items because there's always gonna be different scenarios around every list extension request. So, the union at some point might feel strong also about, you know,
Mhm.
whether they would like us to extend or not.
Yeah.
And so we can allow them to weigh in on that as well.
Right.
You know, they sometimes know more about what's going on with the members and, you know,
Mhm.
so.
Well, three things. One is, I think, Mr. Chairman, your idea is provocative. I think it also, that's not necessarily a compliment.
No, I know, it could go either way.
What is it, another cliche, damned by,
Faint praise.
huh?
Damned by faint praise.
Faint praise.
Oh.
That's the word, faint praise. But I think it is provocative, and I think it has pros and cons.
Yeah.
And the cons may outweigh the pros, frankly, but, if we want to pursue it, I think we should have an agenda item and
Okay.
actually be talking about it. That's one thing. The second thing is, it strikes me that, whether the Personnel Commission, maybe in a position that only has a few subs in it, for example, and is all maybe in one location, it's not so difficult to send out a notification. In a classification that has lots of subs, which is possible, and is spread out throughout the district, may be more difficult to reach everybody. But it seems to me that the hiring manager knows who their subs are. And that the hiring manager can very easily walk over to the sub and say, oh, if we reach out to the hiring manager and say, because it's the hiring manager who has asked for the recruitment. So that person ought to know that there's a recruitment going on. And the hiring manager can go over to the sub, it seems to me, and say, now, there's an active recruitment going on. Here's Erin's phone number, call her up, find out what you need to do.
They could.
They could and they should, and we
They
should
might.
tell them to.
But, so
Could show
so
if.
that's the thing too, so like. Hiring managers receive a sub many different ways. Sometimes they're done, through the PC, which is great, cause we, will go through the list, send but sometimes they're done in other arrangements. Then
Even the illegal ones.
we're having to catch up and then run a recruitment just so that we can ensure sub, like apply and test. And then, the hiring manager, or sometimes when the hiring manager does reach out to us and they let us know, hey, I need somebody, tomorrow. We can send them someone, but, anyone tracking that date that they expired from the list is gonna be. If it's not the old, like the sub cells, it's gonna be really hard to expect a manager, or even PC staff to be able to have that tickler, when this person's gonna go off. So I think, again, like, I don't think it's been a big issue so far, but in this case, thankfully, we did receive the request, and every scenario is gonna be different. Like, I know for this list, for example, we actually recruited just to generate a list. There was never a vacancy that was a true vacancy that was gonna get filled. And so that assignment has gone on for a long time because there's other issues going on with that assignment. And so, but like these candidates never got an opportunity to even interview for a permanent position, which is another reason why I would like to recommend it, so that they have the opportunity if and when it opens up this year. So, yeah, but of course, when we like, if we were to get a vacancy, we always, when the list has been this old, we will always vet it before we send it to the hiring manager. We will go through the list and find out who is still eligible. We'll clean it up so that the top 3 ideally are all still interested.
Got it.
And another reason why, sometimes we might not extend a list is because there are promotional candidates who are not on the list.
Yeah.
Right,
But they, out of fairness, they should have an opportunity
Yeah.
to test into a list for that position. And, we try to favor promotional candidates. All these people are, from an open recruitment. So if we extend the list, now the promotional person can't get onto a list.
right, point well taken, which I think it's why, what I was just saying, I was a bit about individuals rather than lists. Right, if an individual is working in the rich position, but the list is stale, rather than renewing a list, bumping that existing person into a new list that is ungenerated. But anyway, I digress.
I guess I was gonna comment that, the very fact that someone sent something to the commission tells me that some people track
Right,
Yeah.
what's going on with
Right.
their appointment or their assignment, which I think is great. And I will just share that my general approach is when all else fails, when administratively it's cumbersome, either because, we're worried that it's not fair, we're worried that too many people will be confused, we're worried that it's a favoritism sort of thing. I guess the other question I have is when we make the assignment, I'm a fan of giving upfront notice, right? Seriously, I'm not kidding. This is an appointment, through X person's dates leave. Please check back on the commission website, to understand, or, NeoGov or wherever it is that you want to send them. To see if this position will be under recruitment at the end of your assignment.
Yeah.
This way people know I have an assignment, my assignment has an end and there are no promises.
Yeah.
I've got to go back and compete if I want to do that. And you tell them up front. You hope that they read it and remember it or understand it, and we may need to do more to do that. But, in the same way, the question really becomes a balance of, someone who's been in the role, presumably doing a good enough job to stay in the role, but may or may not really be the recruiting manager's, preference, which is why, even though the recruiting manager should tell them, they may have somebody else in mind and may not, so I don't want to depend on them, which is why I sort of did default to the upfront notice.
yeah, and then we should.
At the risk of, beating a dead horse. There is one other thing that we haven't talked about, which is that, and I think this has occurred, not during your tenure, Solly, but, before, where the incumbent who's a substitute doesn't realize that the list is about to expire. and then wakes up to the fact that, oh my goodness, the list did expire. Not is about to
But has
expire,
already.
but has already expired like a month, 2 months ago.
And I'm doing the
And
job,
now-
technically not even supposed to be.
Now I'm asking that the list be extended. Well, we really can't extend a list that's already expired.
Right.
Right.
So that happens too.
Right, and I'm thinking about, I said we should move on, no, I have nothing to say. That, but then also in the context of, we got all those communications about that recently, that substitute who, it was some secretary position.
Yeah.
Oh, right, I correct.
I correct,
Yeah,
or approve the list, so it's just trying to avoid situations like that. And obviously, I think that we did the appropriate thing under our rules, we couldn't make a modification there, but figuring out ways to make sure that whether the people were on the list originally in our substitutes or were not on the list in our substitutes, making sure that people who are performing jobs in the place are able to not trump other, such a charged word now, but other applicants, but fairly compete with applicants and make, I don't know. Anyway, so it's a thing to think about, not necessarily the most urgent one, but. That being said,
I move we extend the list for 1 year.
I'm actually gonna say no.
in this case, I will second the motion. I think that if this were I don't want our staff, basically, if this were a different position, maybe. But I feel like, they have so much work to do on so many positions. So I will second the motion.
Okay.
And so it'll be
2 ayes and 1 no.
one no. There you go. All right. In that case, we will turn to our step advance requests. Move from consent. We'll start with M. Sylvester. I spent 2.
Okay, so, this item is, a request for advanced step placement for Michael Sylvester, who requested a step 5. Mr. Sylvester brings significant leadership and operational management experience from the private sector. They are not unfortunately directly related to K-12 special education. Since joining Berkeley High, though, he has demonstrated strong performance and his, I did consider his college coursework for this review, and so we are very glad to have Mr. Sylvester join BOC, and given the challenges we face recruiting for this IT position, I'm recommending approval at advanced step placement, step 2.
And is that, you're counting 1 year, 1 step for the education credits? Okay. Is Mr. Sylvester available on Zoom? Are there comments or questions from questions?
I have one question. And I'm probably just gonna ask at every meeting because it's to remind the public as well as me. I noticed this is someone who hired on in September. September, October, November, December, January, February, right? So we're at the 6-month mark.
Yeah.
What's the look back period?
What's the what?
Look back period for a step increase.
6 months or the probationary 6-month period. So
Okay, so
he made the-
this is someone who's just coming in under the wire.
Yeah.
Right, the reason I'm asking this is because there are people in this grouping that are August,
Mhm.
and I'm
Yeah,
wondering why
so
they're here.
We looked back to and they made the request right before they hit their 6 month.
Okay,
Yeah, we
okay,
counted,
all right, so you have told or you have,
Yeah.
okay, adjusted, okay, thank you.
yeah,
Yes.
So I have a question. It's not really related, I wouldn't say, to the step advance.
Mhm.
So it's not entirely within our purview or jurisdiction. I'm totally supportive of our executive director's recommendation on the step advance. But in reading the 2 very glowing, I have no question in my mind that Mr. Sylvester plays a very, very useful and important role at Berkeley High School. Reading the two letters, what jumped out at me was it sort of, I couldn't quite figure out if Mr. Sylvester actually is assisting IEP students. It sort of sounded like these are general education math classes that he's involved in, and that he does a fantastic job of working with students and helping them and assisting them, and does it after school, and it's just great what he does. And he's obviously very useful to the teachers themselves. but I didn't really read too much about special education.
Yeah.
In this, which again,
So,
has to do with his supervision and isn't about a step advance. He's hired as a IA two in special education, and that's not for us to question, I don't think.
yeah,
What's he actually do?
as far as I'm aware, he is doing the IA sped work, and then looking at his, CPI. Well, that's actually the training that's provided for all of the IAs. But as far as I'm aware, especially because he's at Berkeley High, they have like maybe one or two, very few like general IA. Most of the IA positions are all specifically IA sped. So, but it is interesting that most of
Might
them
be a
spoke
question
to-
for our committee.
Yeah, yeah,
But it does say in the second recommendation letter from Shannon Mueller, it does mention a 504 and IEP. So.
oh, that's right, yeah,
Mhm.
there is mention of an IEP. So,
Yeah, I mean, if a significant portion of the students in the class have a 504 or an IEP.
He might be doing one-on-one.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think that is a little outside of our purview. I think
No,
what we're
it's-
seeing is someone who,
maybe.
has a big tent, everybody fits under it.
Well, that being said, I heard support from both, if there's a motion or a second.
I move approval and according to our executive director's recommendation.
And I'll second.
And I agree. We'll turn to S. Baskin, School Administrative System 2.
All right, so, this is a request for advanced step placement for Sheriff Baskin at step 5. Ms. Baskin brings several years of administrative and leadership experience, most recently serving as the Associate Director of Elementary Camps at the Lawrence Hall of Science. In her current role at Longfellow Middle School at School Ed 2, she's demonstrated strong organizational system level skills, supporting the front office. And so, given the turnover in this classification, it is challenging recruitment, and so I'm requesting approval for an advanced step placement of that 5. And, I believe that she is here today.
Go ahead if you'd like to speak.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for your time and for reviewing my documents. If you have any questions, yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
All right, I'll turn to commissioners.
Sure. I guess one question is at LHS, your experience was with both the youth as well as parents? Because the role that she's in, as a school administrator, gets both. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. Both at LHS and in my current position, I work pretty closely with students, parents, and teachers. When I was at LHS, I ran a program that over the course of the summer, had over 500 kiddos come join us. Their guardians were dropping them off every day, picking them up every day, calling with questions, calling with concerns. And I also managed a staff of about 12 adults and 18 teen interns. So, yeah, a lot of experience working with those demographics.
Super. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to say to Ms. Baskin, thank you very much for being part of BUSD. Your experience at the Lawrence Hall of Science is tremendous for the administrative role that you're in. And the letter of recommendation that you received from Longfellow Middle School also demonstrates that you are a tremendous asset to the running of a very difficult middle school, as all of our middle schools are. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. I appreciate it.
All right. Are there any other questions or motions?
I'll motion to go ahead and, approve our, executive director's recommendation for step five placement.
I'll second that.
And I agree.
Congratulations.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for holding it down at Longfellow.
Yeah.
That's some achievement.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Yes, and thank you so much. And you are, of course, welcome to stay and watch the rest, and no requirement of that there. Next is Steve Cabanesia, instructional assistant to SPED.
So this also is a request for advanced step placement. Ms. Kevin Estia brings over 6 years of experience supporting students and adults with developmental and behavioral disabilities. Her background includes IEP implementation, behavior intervention support, crisis de-escalation, and also bilingual family support. So given the challenging recruitment for the position, I'm requesting approval at step 5.
And is Claudia here? Claudia,
Yes,
go ahead.
I'm here. Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry in advance. I'm at my daughter's school. But I am here. I am open to any questions that you guys might have. And I did present some letters of recommendation. I have a ton of experience. This is currently my second year working at Willard Middle School. I did transfer from an agency to the district. That's why you might see that I started in August. But I bring experience. I'm and I build relationships with these families. So if you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Thank you very much.
I guess I have one question. Well, first of all, a comment. Again, as I said previously, thank you very much for joining BUSD. I understand that you have been at BUSD for a couple of years now, but officially, I want to welcome you as a full-time permanent employee of BUSD, and your education and background is very impressive and very important and useful. And in addition, you've got some really good recommendations as well. I guess I had one question, which is, so you were you at BUSD as a from an agency as a contractor previously?
Yes, so last year I was with Procure at Willard Middle School.
Can I ask you, what made you want to become a permanent, a regular employee at BUSD instead of continuing to work as a contractor?
Well, there's two reasons. Main reason is I've never liked moving from school to school. I feel like, especially as the special education department, these kids, along with families, they need consistency. That plays a big role in their improvement. And then two, I was told that the contracts weren't being renewed with the district. And I used to work with Mr. Billett, who is the director of HR now. And I was informed of the job fair, and I went, and he guided me through the whole process.
Well, that's really great. And sort of following up on that, you know, you're familiar with the job fair, and we on the Personnel Commission and Human Resources and others have been trying very, very hard to shift from hiring contractors for the reasons that you mentioned into hiring BUSD employees. So do you, since you've gone through this process fairly recently, do you have any suggestions for us about how we could improve our recruitment efforts?
I think everything was pretty, it was pretty easy. The only thing that I would like to suggest is just being a little bit more detailed with like descriptions of job descriptions and just how the process works. I feel like that aspect of could have been just a tiny bit better, but overall it was a very easy process, and communication was very good afterwards.
Great, thank you so much.
Of course.
I do have one other
Mhm.
question, just because it isn't as clear from the resume as I'd like. Your engagement with BUSD is 0.8. I'm looking at Erin, 0.8.
0.8, yeah.
Okay. Were the other positions that you had at Stepping Stone or Procare or Stromberg, sort of similar 0.8? And the reason I'm asking is, as I look at your resume, it looks like there are overlapping dates when you had other jobs as well. And I'm just trying to understand if we've counted correctly.
Yeah, no, so Willard has been my most, I guess, steady position or placement. Every other agency, I would have smaller amount of hours, and I would go from school to school.
So how would you characterize, or was it radically different? Was it half-time? Was it quarter time? Was it three-quarter time? Did it vary agency to agency?
Yes, it always varied depending on the student's needs. And for a while, I was just a floater. So I was just basically a sub for whoever was absent. And then I slowly began to get more
Got it.
a better
Got it.
schedule.
Okay, so sometimes it could be a full day if there were a lot of people absent, and sometimes it would just be for a class or two.
Correct.
Okay, got it. I also just want to make sure everybody is aware, I think there's a little typo on here in the independent living skills line. It shows 816 to 818, which is 1.5 years, but on the resume, I see it's 815. So, what we've categorized there, really is 2.5 years by the dates. But I would like to suggest that we actually reevaluate the experience to understand the degree of match to full-time so that we're actually applying the correct credits. Maybe we are, it's just hard for me to tell from what I'm hearing.
So when I saw the overlapping dates, that's what counted them as put together as more full time. For the stepping stones and Procare.
I'm not sure I'm understanding.
Because I think those dates overlap, right? The stepping stones.
They're presented as separate items on the resume, but as one item on the tracker on the front.
Right, so for example, I see the teacher assistant, from 2012 to 2015. And I get that, and then I see the independent living skills and parent support specialist started, right after that, 815. But the question is, how, was that a part-time role? Was that a full-time role?
Claudia, can you confirm if that was part-time or full-time?
For the assistant, the teacher assistant?
So the independent living skills instructor.
Oh, that was part-time.
So maybe rather than solving it here, let's just take another run at it and, make sure that we've counted right.
Are you suggesting we continue this to the next meeting?
I am.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm reading this wrong, but it sort of seems that Commissioner Goldstein's concerns have already been addressed by our executive director. Because if I'm reading this correctly, we are counting sort of prorated time. In other words, under the total, she's got 6.5 years if you count up all the years, and some of it may be part-time, some of it may be overlapping, but our executive director's only giving her 4 years of credit for that 6.5 years.
And I didn't count the school.
And didn't count the.
So even if it's 3 years, even if you more than have it to 3, then it would still be plus the education to get to 4.
Yeah.
So I think either way, we're at 5.
Yeah, it sort of feels that way, the teacher assistant is 2.5 years, but only giving one year credit. The other one is 2.5 years, only giving 2 years credit, 1.5 years, only 1 year credit.
I think maybe I wasn't clear. A point eight is fundamentally a full-time
Right.
position, right?
That's our,
Fixed hours.
Right.
pretty much everybody is.
Pretty much
at
everybody,
our-
right,
in our
right, you're
district.
working 30 hours a week. What is less, or 32 hours a week, what's less clear to me is how part-time the other part-time positions are. If they are 0.2 positions, I don't know that we're counting this correctly. So I am just asking for a little more diligence to be very clear on that. I mean, it may be they all qualify exactly in the way you've described. I can't tell from the document, and I don't think in the meeting is the place to figure this out.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think if it were closer, I would agree. But given that we're at 6.5 years plus 1 year, plus one step of education, even if some of them may have been at times 0.2, it would have to have been mostly 0.2 for it even to be close to not being a step 5.
I'd rather get the precision, but okay, I understand what you're saying.
I would lean towards doing it tonight, but I see both points.
If you'll make the motion.
I will move that we adopt the recommendation.
A second.
Okay, and I'll say no for the reasons I articulated.
All right.
Okay,
Well, thank you very much for being with us, and we look forward to more temporary and consultant, not consultant,
Okay.
contractors coming on as full-time, and thank you for your work.
Thank you.
All right, we'll turn to A. Vanderveen,
So
another ISP.
item is also advanced step placement request for Alexis Vanderveen. Ms. Vanderveen brings approximately 3 years of directly related special ed and behavioral support experience, including IEP work, basic intervention, as her CPI certification. So due to the challenging improvement, I'm requesting approval at step 4.
This person here.
I don't believe so unless they're under different name. I don't know,
I don't believe so.
And just reviewing, before we go to questions, reviewing the chart, they have 2 6 months, a 10-month, and an 8-month. So collectively, you're giving them 3 for that, and they do have some college coursework. And you're giving them, but we're not giving the additional step for that.
it's about 60 minutes.
Oh, yeah, 60, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, just two small things. I guess one is, so can we expect maybe at our next meeting to have that revised rubric?
Yes,
That would be great.
I have it with me, but,
Yeah, because it's nice when you've had it in the agenda
yeah.
and we can refer to it. But we did a lot of changes to it, so
Yeah.
it takes time to get those all written out. The other thing is, and I just don't remember, to provide credit for college, first of all, it has to be college that isn't one of the minimum requirements. We
Exceeding it.
clarified that. And here, there is no college requirement for a IA sped.
Right.
But is there a minimum number of, well, does the person have to have a like a diploma from that college? Does it matter if it's a 2-year college or a 4-year college or more? How,
No, I think
are there any requirements there?
there's nothing very rigid that we indicated on our rubric.
If you meaningfully exceed the education
And
requirements, you get
exceeding
one.
the education.
Great, thank you.
Which I guess I agree, it can be kind of a judgment call, how many units qualifies as exceeding it. But I think, yeah. Question comment over here.
no, none for me.
Okay, I will approve, placement. Gotta get to the right page.
It would have been nice if she would have been here because she was a contractor as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, well, even better. Then, I concur, that, Ms. Vanderveen be placed at step 4.
Okay, I'll second.
And I agree. All right, that's the balance of the step advance items. We'll turn to the items originally on the consent calendar, starting with the school bus driver MQs, which we've been considering for a little while now.
Yeah.
Do we have anyone? Oh, I see a hand from Claudia. Is that,
Yes, I'm just left a little bit confused. Could you guys, or do you guys mind sharing or clarifying what the decision was?
yes, so there was a motion which was approved. This is Miss Kamenetzia?
Yes.
Yeah, so your step advance request was approved at
Oh,
step 5.
okay. I'm so sorry. I was
No.
a little confused, and I
No,
appreciate that.
we
Thank you
operate
so
in
much.
arcane and mysterious ways.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So turning to the bus driver item, is there anyone from the district or from the union here to speak to that?
So we just had, Amanda Spino. She was here earlier and she let me know that her dog, needed to be picked up from the vet today, so I was trying to see if.
Duty calls.
Earlier, but, yeah, I just texted her and she can't make it. So I'll do my best to speak to this item. It's really just, a simple update to the item we brought last month. So when we were discussing this item, the restrictions that we indicated, we were trying to clarify that, that the restriction related to, we indicated that it related to the driver's license, but really it actually relates to the DMV issued special driver certificate. So we're basically just correcting that, like where that restriction belongs to. And then transportation let us know that the mention of the type 4 restriction is a little vague. After they looked back, they felt like it would be a little too vague for the applicants. And so they requested that we instead use a language that indicates that the driver certificate, the special driver certificate, just say must be unrestricted and then spell out what type 4, which is anything related to automatic transmission. And so-
Well, that's everything that's not type 4, or,
right, yeah.
okay.
So instead of saying type 4, we just say automatic transmission, and where we had placed it before was with the driver's license, when really it should be related to the certificate, not the license. And we are also, because the scheduler router has the exact same minimal qualifications as a bus driver, we're just requesting, or they requested to match what the bus driver says with what, with the scheduler router and queues.
I have a question just about that.
Yeah.
Is the scheduler router sort of a backstop if a bus driver is missing? Is that why?
That's
it's the
exactly
same?
why it's
Okay.
in there, yeah.
So they're both organizing, but then also could sub in if there's
Yeah, and that's
unexpected.
happened frequently.
Mhm.
So, and we did meet, you know, with Amanda Spino and BCCE leadership. We all discussed it and everybody was okay and agreed that it was good to go.
Great.
Okay, so that was my question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Right.
this language, so I was confused before and I'm
Yes.
more confused now. But on the other hand, I don't really need to.
Exactly. It's okay if we're
Everyone
confused.
else is happy. with it.
I know, you know, I'm never gonna be an expert on.
The drivers, yes.
Bus driver requirements. Okay, so I'm not gonna ask substantive questions about that.
Sorry.
But you,
No.
Nothing to it.
but you can assure us that the BCCE and the individual, you know, Stephen, I think was his name,
Mhm.
Steve. No,
Uh,
Steve.
With the.
Oh, yeah, well, we spoke to, when we checked in, it was during, our LMC meetings, regular meetings with HR, BCC. And, so, you know, Mildred and Frank were both present.
And this particular exact language is what you talked about.
Yes,
And is
and we
what,
showed, we projected
Great.
the, you know, we pulled up the
they said this.
revisions and everybody said it was okay, yeah.
Right.
Well, it's not on our heads. Is there a motion?
Sure, you wanna do them one at a time, or?
No, we can do both. at the same time.
All right, so this is to approve both conference items 8A and 8B. To update the bus driver MQs and the transportation scheduler job description MQs as well. As is described in your narrative. Okay,
A second.
And I agree. And hopefully this is the last we hear of it for some time.
I hope so too.
until the DMV changes something.
Yeah.
Exactly, oh god, yeah. Which state was it? In some state in the south, they just told all the trans people with driver's license, they told they have to give them back this past.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah,
Oh, I heard that.
they said your driver's license is no longer
Is no
valid.
longer valid.
Yeah.
Gotta be Tennessee.
It might
They're
be.
the leader in that.
Yeah,
I can't remember why. That.
everyone knows trans people can't drive, right?
I know. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, public comment, is there any additional public comment? From any members online? I'm only seeing one person online. And I'm not seeing a hand. In that case, we can look at our next meeting date,
Which is gonna be on the 24th,
Which is a Tuesday, right?
and it's gonna be at noon.
March 24th at noon.
Okay.
All right,
And I'm gonna have to attend that virtually.
and you will be attending under Just Cause Healthcare or free? of
Yes, because I'm having, so March 24th, March 26th, I'm having cataract surgery. And the instructions from my ophthalmologist
Do
are
not be in public.
that for 2 weeks before the surgery, I'm not to be in any groups.
So
So, as long as you're here in person,
I'll be here.
you don't have to give advance notice, you can give medical notice, and you don't have to allow people to your home.
That's
But if we needed you for quorum, then you'd have to post the agenda in advance, and if someone knocked on your door, you'd have to let them in. So I think we're good. For now. All right, unless there's any other urgent business, is there a motion to adjourn?
moved.
I second.
And I agree. Very good. Short meeting,
Yes, indeed.
even with all of our.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've got about a third of